Tracking down all the Mr. Charlie bobbleheads is a lot easier than it sounds, and it shouldn't take more than an hour to get everything as long as you already know where to look. This guide will take you step by step on where to find each bobblehead and more or less the easiest route, all in a single playthrough. Some of these you can use a knife for, but don't feel like you really need to save your ammo. It's not that big of a deal. Keep in mind that once a Mr. Charlie has been destroyed, it won't show up again in subsequent playthroughs. Thus, you don't need to do everything in a single run to get 20 out of 20 bobbleheads. If you end up dying, don't feel bad about toning the difficulty down to assisted. It'll make things a lot easier, and I don't think it affects progress in any way. The first one is in this subway station at the start of the game. Instead of proceeding up the stairs, go deeper into the subway and out the other door. You'll find it on a platform on the other side. The next one is a freebie, sitting on a table in the middle of the open as you go upstairs and just before you leave the subway station. While you're up here, be sure to organize your supplies at the item box. Mix any regular gunpowder you find to create additional handgun ammo, and leave behind the healing items and the knife. Right after leaving the subway station and after this cutscene ends, turn to your right to find a Mr. Charlie hanging out in the back of the ambulance. This one's kind of ridiculous. It's supposed to appear in front of the giant donut above the Moon's Donut Diner, but it won't unless you activate a very specific trigger. Look through this window at the toy store and aim at the Mr. Charlie poster for about 10 seconds. Afterwards, he'll magically appear in front of the donut. After triggering the cutscene where Carlos calls Jill and they talk about the fire, look past the zombies behind the barricade near you. On the police car behind them is a Mr. Charlie you can shoot through the fence. Head down the stairs after the zombies break through the other barricade. At the bottom is a crowd of zombies, so be careful in dealing with them. This Mr. Charlie is hidden at the bottom of the stairs on the right hand side underneath a scaffolding. Make your way inside Moon's Donuts while avoiding the zombies, of course, and look for another Mr. Charlie standing next to a microwave behind a counter on your left. Then make your way to the back room to organize your supplies. Most importantly, don't leave without the bolt cutters. We're going to do some back and forth, mainly because Jill's inventory space is a little limited. Make your way to the Kite Brothers subway office while dealing with the few zombies on the way. Whatever you do, avoid picking up the fire hose. This is very important. Run past the fire hose and enter the back room. Make sure you use your bolt cutters, but whether or not you take the shotgun is up to you. You probably should though. Anyway, be sure to search the lockers for gunpowder and a grenade, which you should definitely take, and you'll find a Mr. Charlie in this room within the drawers among the files. Next, head back to Moon's Donuts to drop off any supplies you've picked up. When you're finished, exit out the back door again and go straight ahead across the street. Use the bolt cutters to open the gate leading into the alleyway. After dealing with the zombies, be sure to pick up the grenade off the corpse. Again, it'll be really useful later on. There's also shotgun ammo in the briefcase, and that's a good idea to take as well. Before you leave, make sure you get the next Mr. Charlie that's hiding between the vents against the wall. Since it's convenient and we're right here, head back to Moon's Donuts again and organize your supplies at the item box. But bring a green herb with you if you don't have one. You can also drop off the bolt cutters now since we won't be using it for a while, but then you'll need to pick it up again later on. Exit Moon's Donuts out the back door again, head right, and continue onwards to the end of the street. Enter the pharmacy on the left-hand side. There's a red herb inside the cardboard box at the entrance. Take it and combine it with the green herb if you have it in your inventory. On the shelves along the wall, you'll find a bottle of high-grade gunpowder. Take it, but be very careful not to combine it with anything and don't get rid of it either. Continue deeper into the pharmacy to find handgun ammo next to a corpse, as well as another Mr. Charlie on the shelf against the wall. Leave the pharmacy and head up the stairs across the street. Go to the end of the walkway, but don't go through the door yet. Instead, you'll find a Mr. Charlie on the roof next door. Right next to that Mr. Charlie will be another one to your right and above you. He's hiding along the metal beams. Now head through the door, but proceed slowly and beware of zombies nearby. Once you enter the room with the large shelving unit in the middle, look for a Mr. Charlie hanging out up high among the boxes. While you're here, be sure to get the handgun upgrade in the safe. The code is 9 while turning left, 1 while turning right, and 8 while turning left. Then hit the confirm button to open the safe. Head out the next door and run down the walkway. Your pocket should be getting full, so you can take the stairs at the midway point to reach Moon's Diner. Just be careful with the zombies along the way. Make sure you do not put away the high-grade gunpowder. We're going to be using it soon. And pick up the bolt cutters if you put them away earlier. Now return up the stairs and continue down the walkway. Look for a Mr. Charlie on top of the large machinery nearby. Continue exploring this area and you'll find a red herb in a box, as well as a zombie lying on the floor and a red barrel in the distance. Go ahead and shoot that barrel and the explosion will kill all the zombies nearby. Then continue onwards and look for a ladder that you can kick down. Go down the ladder and now you'll find yourself in familiar territory. Head towards the beginning of the game, but enter the supermarket, using the bolt cutters to do so. As this is the third time you've used the bolt cutters, you can now throw them away from your inventory. Enter the supermarket and look to your right for Mr. Charlie with his back turned next to the cash register. Inside the supermarket, you'll find a first aid spray, which is very useful to take, and another high-grade gunpowder. Take this high-grade gunpowder and mix it with the one that's already in your inventory. This will create the Magnum ammo. Now head all the way back to the beginning of the demo. Don't even open the item box on the way there. I don't know if this might prevent you from finding the next Mr. Charlie, but it's best not to risk it, and we don't need to drop anything off anyway. Return to Mikhail in the subway and he'll tell you that he sent Carlos on a separate mission. After hearing this dialogue, head all the way back to that ladder you kicked down earlier. Climb up the ladder and look for a nearby sign that says cleaning in progress. Mysteriously, a Mr. Charlie has now appeared underneath it. Make your way back to Moon's Donuts item box yet again and organize your inventory. Now is finally the time to get that fire hose you left behind earlier. Be careful of any zombies along the way. Even if you put them down before, expect them to be up and at 'em once more. After you get the fire hose, return to Moon's Diner to make final preparations. I highly recommend taking the 2 grenades and all the healing items you can carry. And you'll need to take that fire hose with you as well. As soon as you walk out the front door, Nemesis will appear. Either toss him a grenade immediately, or dodge his incoming attack if he's running right at you, and then throw a grenade when you're safe. After he gets hit with a grenade, watch his animation carefully. If he's doing this overly dramatic pose where he reaches for the sky with one arm, then you've dealt sufficient damage to defeat him. This will be important to keep in mind later on. For now, head up the stairs and towards the alleyway that's on fire. After reaching the fire hydrant, use the fire hose on it. It's probably a good idea to take care of any zombies you left behind that are hugging the gate behind you. Otherwise, they're just going to be really annoying. Once it's clear, very slowly and very carefully inch towards the opening ahead of you with your back against the wall. The next Mr. Charlie is just around the corner and on top of a ventilation shaft. But be careful not to go too far ahead, or else you'll trigger the end of the demo. If that does happen, no worries, simply start the demo again and continue where you left off. You won't have to get the Mr. Charlies that you've already gotten before. With this latest one collected, return back to the street. Nemesis will likely show up again, so throw him another grenade when he does. Watch for the dramatic pose. Now that Nemesis won't bug you for a little bit, head towards the police car blocking the rest of the street. You'll find a lone zombie standing still among the cars. This guy only appears after you've used the fire hose. Shoot him in the head, and now you'll have to go all the way back to the pharmacy at the opposite corner of the map. Either go through Moon's Donuts or take the walkway, your choice. Once you've reached the pharmacy, you'll find a new zombie guarding the next Mr. Charlie in the back of the store. Be careful for Nemesis, he's no doubt followed you here. The next Mr. Charlie requires you to defeat Nemesis 3 times. Well, you've already done it twice with each of the grenades, so you only have to do it one more time. Once again, this is signified by him doing a dramatic pose where he reaches for the sky. If there are any explosive red barrels you've left behind, then they work just as well as the grenades against Nemesis. Otherwise, you'll have to do this the old-fashioned way. Make sure that you aim for the device on his chest. That's his true weak point. If you do die, it seems as though the counter for the 3 deaths will reset, so you'll need to start the process over again. However, you also get your 2 grenades back after you reload the checkpoint, so it's not too big of a deal. You can also set the difficulty to assisted mode after you die, and that makes the process a whole lot easier. After Nemesis has gone down a total of 3 times, return to that police car that was blocking the street earlier. Now the car door should open and a zombie will fumble out, revealing a Mr. Charlie on the car seat floor. If this doesn't happen, continue fighting with Nemesis until you get it to work. The car door should open eventually. Finally, this last Mr. Charlie seems to have a very unusual requirement. Leave Moon's Donuts out the back door and make a left, going around the police barricades to find a cop car. In a similar manner to the previous police car, this one should open on its own, but the method to make it happen seems a little bit unclear. The most common method appears to be dodging a total of 25 times, but I'm not entirely sure this is true. I've heard conflicting information about this, and my own testing isn't all that conclusive either. My belief is that it's a combination of total dodges and total damage dealt, and the counter probably resets if you die and you have to continue. Anyway, keep messing around with Nemesis in this area, focusing on dodges and maybe attacking during a dodge for the hell of it, until the police car door finally swings open and the last Mr. Charlie is revealed. With the 20th Mr. Charlie destroyed, all that's left now is to head through the alleyway where Jill put out the fire. Trigger the ending cutscene and view your results. If, for whatever reason, you're still missing some bobbleheads, don't be too concerned. Your progress is saved across playthroughs and even through death, so you only have to collect the bobbleheads that you've missed. Just keep in mind that a few of the last ones I mentioned require very specific procedures to make them appear. Thanks for watching my guide on the Resident Evil 3 remake. If you'd like to watch a similar process unedited, you can view my livestream that I did earlier in which I also collected all 20 bobbleheads.